Title: Beyond the Wheat. Chapter 1: The Awakening. A man blinked his eyes open to the gentle rustle of wheat stalks brushing against each other in a gentle breeze. He squinted his blurry eyes achily as warm sunlight bathed his body like a hand-spun wool blanket. He could feel its warmth pressing upon his cheeks as he lay motionless amongst the reeds. Confusion clouded his mind as he sat up and noticed for the first time the pristine white cloak clad around his chest and legs. The pureness of the cloak blended perfectly amid the gold grains. His memory was a blank canvas, devoid of any recollection of who he was or how he ended up in this tranquil expanse. He looked down at his pale hands and tried to understand what he was. He could not help but notice how flawless, strong, and perfectly shaped his hands were. He did not feel fear or anger, hunger or thirst, euphoria nor pain. The only thought flowing through his empty mind was, "Who am I?" He reached up to the top of his head to feel for his hair, expecting to find long, dirty blonde locks, a familiar hazy feeling more than a memory. But instead he found nothing but a smooth pale wasteland where hair had surely once been. In fact, as he glanced over his arms, touched his face, smoothed over his brow, he continued to find the same thing: nothing. No hair could be found anywhere on him, no bumps, bruises, freckles, or scars could be found either. It was as if his body had been cast from a flawless mold mere moments before his awakening, with neither blight nor the smallest imperfection present. He began running his fingers delicately down the sleeve of his cloak, taking in the silky smoothness of the fabric as he slowly moved his fingers from the shoulder down to the end of the sleeve. He paused there for a moment, rubbing the fabric between his fingers gingerly. How strange, he thought, as he began to take in his surroundings in a childlike attempt to gather his bearings. Not a stone's throw away, he noticed others stirring, each wearing the same bewildered expression mirrored in his own reflection and the same exquisite white cloaks. Each of them bore his same cleanliness, perfection, and hairlessness. Some were male, others female, of all ethnicities imaginable. Some were larger and some smaller, but all shared the same garbs and flawless nature. A sense of camaraderie emerged amongst the strangers as they exchanged uncertain glances, their shared confusion weaving an invisible thread of connection between them. The man felt as though he knew these people from a time long gone, but the thought quickly vanished as their attentions drew towards a faint noise that slowly grew near the foot of the hill. What was that sound? He thought to himself, and the sound drew nearer. I know what it is, but I cannot place it. Again, as he began to think back, all that met his mind was confusion and emptiness. He could almost reach out and touch the memory of the sound, but it would forever be out of reach. Just then, he heard a gasp from one of his companions, causing him to open his eyes and once again take in his surroundings. It was only then that he realized that their small group was completely surrounded by the arrival of figures garbed in robes akin to their own. A tension filled the air like a tightened spring on a rabbit trap. "What do you want with us?" he heard one of his comrades ask in a tremoring voice. He looked towards the voice asking the question they all wanted to know, and saw a small leather-skinned man shivering with terror at the sight of the intruders. The tallest amongst them began to slowly step towards the leather-skinned man. Once he was within an arm's length, he stooped to one knee and calmly removed his hood, revealing a beautiful face that exuded an aura of reassurance and warmth. "Don't be afraid, friend, for we are like you. We have come to take you to safety." These words of welcome fell from his lips like petals from a blooming flower, easing the hearts and minds of the disoriented newcomers. The leather-skinned man reached out his shaking hand, and the newcomer caringly assisted him as he slowly rose to his feet. Others began to do the same, helping each of the awakened to their feet one by one.